Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my review of Van Helsing on Syfy, my weekly review, which was episode 9 of season 1, Help Out. And I want to apologize immediately about the lateness of this review. It aired Friday, but I made the choice to watch The Vampire Diaries before this for some reason. Two very different types of vampire shows for sure. But, with it being the final season, I thought I should watch TVD, I guess. But, very good shows in their own right. But I just want to apologize for being late in this review because Van Helsing is fucking awesome. And I unfortunately had to work Saturday, so I couldn't watch it then, or I watched it late at night. I don't know. But I'm here now, and I'm really happy to talk about it because Van Helsing is just an awesome show. It's still not getting the credit it deserves. I don't see what people think is so wrong with it. I think it's one of the best out there right now already, just off of the first handful of episodes from a little bit ago. And this might have been my personal favorite episode so far. I think we had a lot go down. It probably could have been finale worthy had they wanted it. And again, this makes me all the more eager to see what they're actually going to do with the finale. It left us with a pretty huge question after a pretty huge result at the end of the episode, with Axel and such. It has me guessing. But we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. I already want to buy it on Blu-ray. Come on. That's just how much I like the show so far. But yeah, anyway, we start the episode. We have Vanessa. She's mopping up John's blood. Of course, after having to kill him in the last episode. Again, it's still debatable if he was the actual killer. Of course, he didn't really do himself any favors with how he was acting at the end of it. But just with the fingers being placed in his bag and such, it felt very circumstantial, or not circumstantial, but it felt very, very much like a coincidence. Of course, he'd have him in there just to be found like that. They happen to have with him. But again, who else could the killer be? I don't know. Because Susan, I wouldn't like them to make Susan the killer. I don't think that'd be a good twist. I don't think that'd work. But I think Susan was there, after the killing started, so it couldn't be her. I hope it's not Sam. I still hope it's not Sam. I hope that's not the mystery behind him. I hope there's a little more of a tragedy behind him and not just him being this creepy killer. I don't know who else it could be, really. But we'll find out at some point. That's even more inconvenient for the survivors, I'm guessing. But, Vanessa, she's mopping up his blood. Axel sort of tries to reassure her that she did the right thing, under the circumstances and such, and she shouldn't try to put it all on herself or try to, carry that guilt around because of it. We had Flesh. He thanks Axel for getting them this far, no matter what happens. He thanks him for getting them to this point. And, of course, Axel will say things like, I'm on duty, or it's, it's my mission. But Flesh, sees that something else. He sees that Axel does, legitimately care about these people. So I like that moment there. And, what did I write there? I cannot read my own writing. That is just fantastic. Oh, yeah, okay. I finally made it out. And what was probably the highlight of the episode was the moment in bed between Vanessa and Susan. We have Vanessa and Susan bonding. Susan comes to sleep in Vanessa's bed because she doesn't want to be alone in this type of area, which is understandable. And at first you got more of like a sister vibe between them. But in this moment, something else is definitely going on. But we have them bond. We'll talk more about that in a second. But we have them bond. Vanessa says some pretty interesting things here, like actually admitting that she enjoys killing. There's something in her that sort of gets a kick out of it for some reason. And I've pointed this out before in my other reviews. That seems like even when Vanessa is killing the vampires, Sometimes it seems like she goes like a little bit animalistic somehow, or sort of like savage, just with the way she does it, the way she looks when she's doing it. And that is proven here with Vanessa saying, part of her actually, enjoys it to an extent. And I think that's because there probably is somewhat of a vampire element inside of her, in some way anyway. I think that's part of what it is, sort of like bloodlust in a way, I think. And I find that to be very interesting. Definitely it's going to be an explanation for other darkness that could come out of Vanessa in the future, to a greater extent sometime, who knows. Yeah, I really like that, but what made the scene what it was, of course, Susan, thanks her for, saving her from another drunk asshole, just like she did before the apocalypse started. And this leads to Susan actually kissing Vanessa. It's not just like a quick peck, like friendly peck either. She goes in for the lips, and, Vanessa holds it for a few seconds too. She seems to like it, I think. But of course, Vanessa tries to brush it off a little bit because, they're both probably a little bit awkward about actually, going in for it. Susan had the gall to do it there. But Vanessa seems a little bit uneasy about it right now. But you could tell she didn't dislike it, And personally, I think I would highly approve if Vanessa and Susan turn out to be like the main couple on the show. As much as I like Axel, I don't really want them to go the sort of like a generic route of him and Vanessa being together. I think that'd be a little bit plain. Although I like what they have, as far as like allies and, friendship goes. I just love the scene between Susan and Vanessa. The chemistry between Kelly Overton and Hilary Jedding there. It was just really sweet and a touching scene, I think. It got me in the feels for sure. And, it's not just because it's two girls kissing either. Of course that's nice, as Axel mentions a couple times later. Whatever they have going on, cool. But really, I think legitimately they have a organic bond that could lead to that should they both want it, and I hope that's going to go forward when we see it come up again. But yeah, I really love the scene. Again, just really touching, great dialogue, great acting. I don't see why not. And I'm sure Vanessa will sort of embrace her at some point, so looking forward to that. Anyway, continuing the review. Actually talks about reading Vanessa's file, actually, and sort of being aware of a little bit more things than he had let on previously. He mentions that apparently Vanessa's mother, didn't just, die during childbirth. She actually, supposedly, left her or gave her away or dropped her off somewhere. So that's pretty interesting. And of course, Vanessa wants to deny that at first, but you can tell Vanessa sort of realizes that's probably the case after all. Let's see. Oh yeah, for some reason I read the top part of the notes again. Of course, this brings up a lot of stuff for Vanessa, but this moment's sort of interrupted by them seeing a vampire walking around that sort of quarantine zone or that quarantine hallway on the other side of the door. Mohamad, we cut to him a little bit in this episode. He meets up with this girl. She's very pretty, very clean. Something definitely to be suspicious of. But they sort of bond, and she gives them berries. They end up running across these two vampires a little bit later, and the vampires, they didn't really go for them. They definitely weren't just like ferals. They're definitely ones with their minds still working to an extent anyway. So wondering who they are, but they run off together. And we have a little bit of Rebecca on this episode too. I just want to praise Laura Manila's performance as Rebecca again so far. I just find her to be the most interesting and compelling antagonist in the show so far, and this is another good scene. She makes an example out of a woman in front of the humans, saying, they all need to be like her, compliant and willing to basically bow down to the superior being in species. And Rebecca also sort of screws the girl too, because making her out to be like this in front of these humans and potential resistance members definitely makes them look at the woman the wrong way when Rebecca leaves her with them. And this leads, of course, to the woman being interrogated later by the leader, as well as Shima, who presses on that oh, Shima is tortured, she has these scars on her wrists and arms and such, but, this woman is unharmed. And this causes the leader to actually shoot the lady in the head. But we know Shima is under the most influence from Rebecca. They have that weird sort of connection. But yeah, still some good scenes there, though. We got Doc. She's actually losing her hair, which is taking it even further than I realized. We've seen that she still might have a taste for blood previously. And I'm guessing this is also the case with Flesh to an extent as well. He's probably going through something similar, I think. I just wonder how far it's going to go. I don't want them to turn into vampires again. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Flesh long term, but I feel like Doc's going to need to be a character that's around for most of the show, or at least another season or so. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but I'm kind of worried about him in the long run for sure. And she faints and she wakes up to the others. She says it was the radiation. I'm not sure if it was the radiation in this instance that actually caused her to do that. I think it was actually what's going on with her personally. But we do find out the radiation is actually getting to some dangerous levels, and it's slowly actually starting to get to some of them. So maybe it was. And we have Doc. She sort of has a breakdown about what we've seen within the first episode or so. With her actually shutting the door on some of the other men who are trying to get in just because of how desperate and scared she felt. Axel sort of comforts her about that, how she acted in that situation. They end up finding this vent, and that's potentially how the vampire got in. But as they're leaving, they decide to go back and look for Gorman. Gorman, of course, being the newer member of the group, who's a pretty explosive happy. We don't know where he went, so Doc is having trouble bringing herself to leave someone else behind or shutting someone else out. So she goes with Axel to go and look for him as the radiation's getting to starting to get to very dangerous levels. And they find the dead feral, so Gorman is actually good for something apparently. And as Vanessa, Sam, and the others get to the surface, they're fighting off vamps. Some pretty, cool choreography here, with the fight, little fights Vanessa is having with some of the vampires as she pulls out her knife from her boot. It looks pretty cool, I think. And again, we also see, a few minutes later, that we see that sort of smirk and smile on Vanessa as she's doing it, as she, stabs into some of them, just does it over and over again. So, again, I like the part of the character. I think it's interesting. Axel, he ends up being attacked by a turned Gorman. He was, probably bitten when he killed the feral. And this leads to something I did not expect. They have to make it to, past the door and get out of there. Axel, he's having trouble with this vampire. This vampire seems pretty strong, the Gorman vampire. And Axel almost gets it a couple times, but Axel manages to fight him off, even stabbing him through that with a knife. It just won't quit, though, or through the jaw anyway. And Doc, she's waiting on the door. She's waiting for Axel to show up. Axel makes it. He starts, getting into the door. He probably would have made it, even though the vampire was rising up behind him. They probably could have shut the door in between them. But this causes Doc to sort of panic, I guess, sort of reminding her of that similar situation from earlier in the season. And she shuts the door before Axel gets to the other side. Come on. Holy shit. Just give him... She would have just had to wait to maybe 1-2 more seconds, and then she could have shut the door on the vampire, but Axel will be alright. So Axel's locked in. He's shut in. We see the vampire tackle him. We don't know exactly if it bit into him or not, but probably. We see his hand come up. There's some blood that he smears on it as the radiation gets up to a dangerous level. He's also supposedly killed by the vampire. And Doc comes up, tells Vanessa. They both sort of break down over it. And I'll talk more about my thoughts on Axel once I'm done with this last bit of it. And we also find out that Axel was originally sent to recover Vanessa and bring her to the farm that they're at now. So it sort of makes you question Axel a little bit. But I could tell how he genuinely started to care about Vanessa and the others, and it probably became a little bit more than a mission for him. But, it's interesting to think about that, too. And right before Axel went in to go look for Gorman, he also had something he wanted to mention to Vanessa, but of course he didn't, and now he's, something. But yeah, overall, really, really good episode. As far as Axel goes, Do I think it's the last we've seen of him? No. Because he's like our main male character on the show. I don't think they just get rid of him, before the first season's over or anything like that. I don't think they get rid of him at all, or maybe towards the end. So I don't think he's gone for good here. Maybe we'll see him again turned, and maybe Vanessa can turn him back or something. Unless the vampire just feasted on him or something, I don't know. But I highly doubt this is the last of Axel. But if it is, it'll be surprising, and it'll be unfortunate to lose Jonathan's scarf. But, I'll give him some credit if they actually did kill him off here. It definitely makes you feel the world of the show, how real it actually is. So, yeah, really love the episode. I'm going to give it an 8.9, maybe 9 out of 10. Just really enjoying the show. I love it. And again, I apologize for the lateness. It deserves all the credit in the world right now. So if you guys are watching and enjoying it like I am, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe, and peace.